With the ELD mandate already in effect for interstate movements and the requirement for intrastate use on December the 16th, 2019, TXTA wants to review the various ELD exemptions that are available. There are three primary exemptions to the ELD mandate. When logging is not required for more than 8 times in any 30-day period, during a drive-away tow-away operation, and when a CMV has an engine that was manufactured prior to 2000. Let's discuss the first exemption. 395.8 gives an exemption to the ELD for drivers who do not have to complete a record of duty status, like logbook, for not more than 8 days in any 30-day period. On the next few slides, we will give examples and discuss this exemption. Drivers, such as those who operate under the short haul or local exemption, may be able to utilize this exception to ELD. If for any reason a driver must complete a logbook, and these total 9 or more days in any rolling 30-day period, the driver would have been required to have used an ELD on the 9th day. Let's take a driver who operates as a short haul or local driver within the 100 interstate or 150 air mile intrastate radius and 12-hour shift. In other words, this driver is exempt from completing a logbook. However, on 1 day a week, this driver must travel more than the 100 or 150 air mile radius from their reporting location. On this 1 day, the driver must complete a RODS or logbook for the entire 24-hour period. Because this driver is not required to complete more than 8 days of logbooks, he or she is exempt from the ELD mandate and may continue to operate without a regular duty status. In other words, they do not need an ELD. Let's look again at a very similar situation. Here the driver also operates as the short haul or local driver within the 100 or 150 air mile radius and 12-hour shift. The difference is on 2 days a week, this driver must travel more than the 100 or 150 air miles from his or her reporting location. Therefore, this driver must complete a logbook or RODS for the entire 24-hour periods. This driver may not be eligible to claim the short haul or local exemption or the ELD exemption because he or she could exceed the 8-day limit in 30 days. If a driver exceeds the 8 days allowed under the ELD exemption, the 9th and any subsequent days would be considered as having no RODS or logbook, even if a paper logbook was completed for those days. Carriers utilizing this exemption that have drivers who occasionally have to complete a paper RODS must closely monitor these drivers. A drive-away tow-away operation in which the vehicle being driven is part of a shipment being delivered is an exemption to the ELD mandate. Drivers conducting a drive-away tow-away operation, such as the saddle mount operation pictured here, an operation in which an empty or unladen motor vehicle with one or more sets of wheels on the surface of the roadway is being transported, if the vehicle being driven is the commodity being delivered, or if the vehicle being transported is a motorhome or recreational vehicle trailer. Travel trailers being towed and motorhomes being driven in a drive-away tow-away operation are exempt from the ELD requirements. Vehicles that were manufactured prior to 2000, as reflected in the vehicle identification number on the vehicle's registration, are exempt from the ELD requirement. If a vehicle with a model year 2000 or later is powered by an engine that was manufactured prior to 2000, this vehicle is also exempt from the ELD requirements. Let's take a moment and review some important ELD frequently asked questions. What time periods can be used to determine the 8 days in any 30-day period? The 30-day period is not restricted to a single month, but applies to any 30-day period. For example, June 15th to July 15th is considered a 30-day period. If a motor carrier's operation is exempt from the requirements of 395.8, is the motor carrier also exempt from the ELD rule? Yes, motor carriers with operations that are exempt from the requirements of 395.8 are exempt from the ELD rule. In other words, a driver who is not having to log today will not have to use an ELD. Can drivers operate commercial vehicles equipped with ELDs if they are not required to use them due to an exception? The answer is yes. Drivers can drive CMVs equipped with ELDs and still use their exception. A motor carrier may configure an ELD to show the exception for drivers exempt from using the ELD, or use the ELD annotation to record the status. Are motor carriers that meet the agricultural exemption defined in 395.1K or the covered farm vehicle 395.1 subject to the ELD rule? The ELD rule does not change any of the current hours of service exemptions. Therefore, motor carriers that meet the exemptions defined in 395.1 are not subject to Part 395, hours of service, including the ELD rule, while they are operating under the terms of the exemption. The duty status of the driver may be noted as either off-duty with appropriate annotation or exempt. Texas adopted the ELD requirement for interstate use in December of 2017. Carriers engaged in interstate commerce in Texas must comply with the ELD requirement unless one or the more ELD exemptions can apply. Intrastate carriers who engage in intrastate commerce only have until December the 16th, 2019 to comply with the ELD requirement unless one or more of the exemptions will apply. Additional information concerning the ELD requirement can be found at the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration (FMCSA) website.